Good evening. This is Joe Garcia calling from just outside of Toronto here in Canada. It's my pleasure and honor to share with you some incredible insights on the skill sets that you need to become a global ambassador, which is the highest rank in the NHT Global recognition plan. I'm so excited about this training. I thought about it while I was in Hawaii a few weeks ago with the ambassadors, and I was asking myself during one of those quiet periods. I know Jamie, you can relate to this, where you're just sitting alone and you're overlooking the Pacific Ocean on the beach, and you're thinking, how can I help more people become a global ambassador? What is it that I did to get to where I am today? These are kind of the questions that I consistently ask myself, so I can impart my experience, my mentorship, my coaching. I can impart everything that is about myself to those that want to succeed and become a global ambassador. So what I've done is I put together a great PowerPoint of a number of the great pictures that we had with our ambassadors over in Hawaii. It was an incredible time. We got to see the sunset, the sunrise in Maui at the top of I can't even pronounce the mountain right now, 10,000 feet above sea level. You go up there and you can barely breathe. It was just unbelievable what we saw that morning. And then in the evening, the sunset, the company treated us like ambassadors, like we are, like kings and queens. We had such an incredible time. And I got to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who have any inkling of this kind of lifestyle and want to get to ambassador level, Hawaii and the time that we have there, you'll never forget it. The journey is well worth it when you end up in Hawaii, got to tell you. And one of the things that I recognized when I got started in this industry, when I got started in NHT Global, it all comes down to your philosophy. What do you mean, Joe? What do you mean by philosophy? Well, there's a number of things I'm going to share with you right now in bullet form. Bang, 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 to help you understand what kind of philosophy that you need to come to the table here. There's about 90% of everything that we do in NHT Global and success achievement is all in between your ears. I've had a philosophy for many years that when you help people raise their conscious level, if you go back to the STEAM Team site, under webinars, under mindset, under leadership, I did a training on the 7 levels of leadership. And one of the key aspects or the key levels in helping a distributor get to that level is hope and inspiration. When you get them to that level, they're able to head over that top of that mountain and watch out. You just see them get to the finish line. So when you help people raise their conscious level, they'll end up figuring out the rest. So when I got started in the industry, and you've heard me say this, for those of you who heard my trainings over thousands of times, I poured my energies. I was like an Olympic athlete, training every day, into my mindset, into my philosophy, into my work ethic, which is going to be the next slide. I did everything that I needed to do on that end of the business, and guess what? I planted those seeds every single day. I started to get better and better and better. I started to improve my confidence. And when you plant great seeds every day, it is law, ladies and gentlemen, you will absolutely, with no doubt, achieve what you want. The key thing is every day. But there was a defining moment in my life, a major defining moment in my life. I want all of you just to write this down. It's critical. And this is the philosophy that I took over. I actually wrote a blog, an article on this, where now several major publications have picked it up. It's in Networking Times September, October issue. It's actually the featured issue in that magazine. And I talked about one principle. I've met a lot of people over the years because I'm one of those guys that attended every seminar. I've never missed an event. I've attended every trainings. You wouldn't believe the energies I put into my personal development, in myself getting better to raise my conscious level. I put so much energy that it just became a lifestyle. I didn't even have to think about it. It was like I was eating. We need food to live. With me, the personal development side of myself was like food to me. If I didn't do it or missed one day, I knew it. I knew right away. I didn't need to get back into that focus. So that defining moment is when I recognized, because I was observing people that were attending these seminars, and it seemed to be, the Anthony Robbins seminars, Bob Proctor seminars, Brian Tracy seminars, Zig Ziglar, the greats of our time, Jim Rohn I've seen, and I'd see these people, especially in my Toronto area, I see the same people I would bump into all the time. And I never saw any kind of improvement in them. They were still struggling on the number one aspect. The reason why they were there is to make more money. And this is important for all of you to write down, as I wrote in this article, is when you're waiting for that next breakthrough, when you're waiting for that next book to help you get to where you want to go, or that next seminar to say, wow, now I know what to do. Now I'm going to take this, I'm going to run with it, I'm going to make it happen because of the information you shared with there. I wasn't good enough before. Now I'm good enough. So when you come into that attitude that you're not good enough, no matter what seminar, what book, what you will never find or attract that breakthrough. So when I recognized, and one of the differences that I had, that defining moment, I came to the table and started to recognize, Joe, you're already fantastic. You're already incredible. You're made in the likeness of God. I grew up reading the Bible. At the age of 12, I was reading the Bible without anybody telling me because it fascinated me. Something inside me told me I needed to read it. And this is something else I'm going to talk about in terms of philosophy. But when I started thinking about how great I was as a human being, and what human beings can accomplish, you just look at our lifetime in the last 20 years. It's been incredible. Don't turn on the TV and listen to people who say that the world's going haywire and the end of the world is near and all this junk that is being fed to us. We're living in the golden history of the world. Just think about what has come our way in the last 20 years in terms of technology. In 1993, I thought the fax machine was the greatest thing known to mankind. Fax machine. I couldn't believe you just put a piece of paper and it came out on the other end. Fax machine. Just think now it's almost obsolete. Now we can communicate with a text to thousands of people with a click of a button. We can email electronically. We can go on video Skype and do a presentation. Did one yesterday in Vladivostok and Khabarovsk, where they can see me in the screen. $100 is the first person who will know where Khabarovsk and Vladivostok. That is in the far east of Russia, 15-hour time difference from us. And they can see me right on the screen, and I was sharing my wisdom to them and my story. Just think about this technology. We take it for granted. This is all created, ladies and gentlemen, by man. It was created by collective consciousness. Collective consciousness. Many of you have heard my story where a few years ago I was with our leaders, our Russian leaders, in a trip incentive that we had to Egypt. I'm driving through at 6 in the morning. It was incredible. They woke me up at 6 in the morning. What the hell are these women doing? They're waking me up at 6 in the morning. They wanted to go through the desert with ATVs. So we got a guide, with 10 of us on these ATVs, and we were just booting through the desert. Around 8 9, 10 o'clock, we stop. We notice a tent, a few hundred feet away from us, and the family came out and walked up to us and invited us for a drink of water. And I walked into this tent, and it was incredible. I saw a teenager on the far end of the tent. I think the tent may have been 10 by 15, and this family was living in this tent. I thought, wow, these are nomads. This is something I've seen in the movies. And the teenager is on his iPhone talking on FaceTime or Skype to someone, on video to a relative. I don't know where that relative was, but right in the middle of a tent in the middle of nowhere. My first thought was, where is the cell phone tower here? But technology, just think about that, just blows me away with technology and man. So just when you think about that, these people put their pants the same way that we do on. They eat the same way in most cases. They eat the same things. They live in the same type of environment. So what's the difference between you and them? And there's really very little difference. And the little difference is that confidence, that philosophy that they are great. They can accomplish anything they put their mind to. They have everything that they need right now to accomplish what they want. And when I started meditating on that, when I started understanding that in my core, in my soul, I was a recruiting machine before, but I started attracting higher quality people. When I was talking to prospects, my confidence rose to the roof. I knew I was successful already. I didn't have the results, but that defining moment was when I already knew I was successful. I began with the end in mind. You hear the great Dan Cuttle talk about all the time, where he visualized his end result. And that's what I started to do. And I attracted greatness into my life. So that was the number one philosophy I picked up that defined me at the core. And it can define you. And what happens, these seeds that you plant through these seminars and through these books will wake you up, will help you remember, because you already know everything there is to know to be successful. It's embedded in you. We are like God. We are connected to everyone in the world. We're connected to the universe. We're at the collective consciousness level. When you start to understand that, thoughts are bouncing back and forth, and we can be and are great right now. I'm going on a tangent right now. I can speak about this for the next half hour. Very passionate, as you can understand. So the next philosophy that I started to recognize is this is an all-in game. You look through Jamie Messina's organization. He had sponsored a gentleman in South Africa who is a long jumper. He's a high-end athlete. I think he got 8th place at the World Championships in Moscow. His goal is to become a medal winner in the next Olympics. And I had a conversation with him, and you wouldn't believe for the last 10 years how much time he has put into his craft. He's eaten it. He has slept it. He drank it every single day of his life in the last 10 years, just for the opportunity to become one of the best in the world. And now he is 8th based on his last standing. Incredible. And I thought, if I could do the same thing and turn it into the lifestyle like this gentleman has for any professional athlete, any athlete right now that's wants to be a medal winner, they know they got to do a little bit more than anybody else. If you pour, with most people, if they pour as much energy they do in their jobs that is getting someone else rich, that is paying forward to someone else rather than themselves and their family, they do that here with the philosophy that I just shared with you, you're going to be unstoppable. It's a lifestyle, ladies and gentlemen. That's the other philosophy I built into my repertoire. right from day one. Next philosophy. Again, this is all philosophies. This is all part of how you become an ambassador. How you can become an ambassador. You don't need to sponsor an army here in NH2 Global. If you look at the ambassadors that you see on the screen right now, most of them have never sponsored more than 25 people. Most of them have never sponsored 25 people. Just think about that. When I came into network marketing, is I recognized from day one that for me, I looked at all the skill sets that I needed to develop. And I thought, which is the number one skill set that I needed to develop to allow me to get to my goal, failing my way to the top? And I thought, recruiting. If I did the numbers, because I was used to doing numbers when I was in the fitness industry, if I just did the numbers, I'll fail my way to the top. I'll fail my way to the top. So I was a recruiting machine. Still am. Sponsored another gentleman today. Don't need to do that, but I continue to sponsor. And what I started to recognize watching, my great business partner, Dan Cattle, and people of that ilk, when I was growing into a leader, started recognizing quality is better than quantity. Quality is better than quantity. So I started recognizing that I had to implement these philosophies that I was sharing with you. Then I would have started attracting like-minded individuals. And what happens with like-minded individuals? They connect. And what happens with people that connect? They start to do business together. What happens to like-minded, connected people? They flourish. Think about it. So that specific philosophy, these philosophies that I'm sharing, go back to the number one philosophy, is that you're great right now. You have everything that you have available to you to become successful. So the other philosophy that many of you have heard me before is consistency. I hope you're writing this down because I don't have it up on the slide, but consistency. So I went to All In. We talked about all that. I talked about the Olympic athletes. I talked about the process of recruiting and the quality of people. But to get there, you need to be consistent. And that's part of being all in. This is just a lifestyle. And I thought if I could do and plant seeds every single day of my life, I will be well ahead of the 95, 98, 99% of the population. So I was consistent in recruiting. I was consistent in showing the product. I was consistent in personal development. I was reading every single day. I was consistent in treating people the way I wanted to be treated. I was consistent in having an up attitude every single day. I was consistent in managing my emotions. I was consistent in managing my disappointments. I was consistent in being me every day and dreaming every day and focusing on my dream every day. When I recognized that I poured more energy into my dream and my focus, my results would go up. When I poured my energy into things that I didn't want, I struggled. And I was in that struggle and effort pain. Then the last thing I want to just cover here, and it's something that many trainers and business builders and leaders, when I first got in the industry, they talked about paying the price. You got to always pay the price for your dream. And I thought about it. I go, that is really a negative way. That doesn't inspire me. That is just a negative way. It creates negative connotations because nobody likes to give up things. But I tell you, going back to one of my original philosophies is going all in, is this has to be your major priority in your life. And it has to be major to reach your dreams and your goals. And this is where the difference between top achievers and the ones that continually struggle or just stick around is they look at, well, why do I want to sacrifice my family? Is this really a sacrifice for my family? Or do I sacrifice other aspects that I love to do? You know, life is all about a balance, ladies and gentlemen, but you need to set priorities in your life. You need to set priorities in your life. So my decision-making process always, when I was invited to go here and I still needed to do something in business, I always took the business because that was going to get me closer to my dream and my goals and the lifestyle I wanted than that other stuff. That wasn't paying the price for me. It was just a decision. You know, I incorporated my family and worked really hard in the balance of my life. But my business, my dream was all connected to my family. So like my family, it was a priority. You want to reach your goals and your dreams, you need to make it a top 2 priority, or you're going to be struggling to reach your goals and your dreams. And there's a lot of people out there that will say, well, Joe, it's not worth it. Okay, that's fine. Then your dream is not what you really want. And what tends to happen then, your kids grow up, you're living in the house you don't want to live in, you're driving the car you don't want to be driving in, you're not able to pay for your kids' college, university, they're having to take loans out, you're not traveling as much as you want to, you're not traveling in your dream travel, you don't have the freedom that you want. So because of the decisions you made based on what I'm talking about in terms of these philosophies. So when I thought about those things and I weighed it, I go, wow, do I want to be on that path or do I want to be on the path where you have the complete freedom? You never have to worry about monies. You know, you're in charge of your life, right? You know, you're making decisions not based on you don't have the money or you don't have the time, but based on, yes, this feels good to me, I'm going, there's nothing stopping you. Powerful. That's the kind of life that I set out to have, and that's the kind of life that I've had for many years. And believe me, ladies and gentlemen, it's worth it because we are great. We can accomplish anything we put our mind to. This can be considered a philosophy, but it's work ethic versus lifestyle. So when I talk about being all in, and when I got started here in NHT Global, when I got started in the industry, I was totally all in. I made a huge 150% commitment. But I also needed to apply the work ethic as a priority in my life. I never allowed myself to be lazy. I never allowed myself to tell myself I was going to do it tomorrow. I never allowed myself to dismiss things. And I'll talk about dismissing things. And this is very, very important to understand. Top achievers and success achievers rarely dismiss things. And what I mean by that is when you're aligned with your goals and your dreams, you know exactly what you want, and you're focused on that, the universe will bend to your needs. The universe will give you exactly what you want on your lap. And what happens is the universe will send you a book. They'll send you a training program, or getting on a call like tonight. You got to get on, and you immediately dismiss it. You inside it's telling you, but you automatically dismiss it. Or picking up that last phone call at 10:30. Oh, I got a call. No, I'm going to wait till tomorrow. You dismiss it. The universe is speaking. God is speaking to you constantly, and we're dismissing it constantly because we have the weeds in our mind. So I'll give you an example of dismissing it. Back in the 90s, late at night, after a long day, I'm watching CNN. Larry King, I can remember like it was yesterday, and a psychic, Sylvia Brown, was on there, watching, promoting her book. And Larry King, the great interviewer, and something inside me was telling me, Joe, you got to pick this book up. And I immediately the next day dismissed it. About 2 or 3 years later, my daughter Vanessa was taking some swimming lessons, had some time to kill. It was at a rec center in a library. There was a library there. I decided to go into the library. And the very first book that is on the outside, on that aisle that I walked in, was that book. And I remembered, it's like my internal guidance system. I remembered something inside me. I said, Joe, you got to get this book. And I did. 3 years later. But I remembered now, at that time, to realize I shouldn't be dismissing things. We're constantly dismissing things. Get a great idea by Dan Catto, and we dismiss it. Get a great idea by Patrick Tulloch, Jamie Messina, and we, I got to go do that, and we dismiss it. Someone tells you to go pick up a book. Oh, we dismiss it. We forget it. Life gets in the way. Life gets in the way. And the universe, when you're aligned with what you want, the universe is consistently giving you what you want. Most people are dismissing it. Most people are dismissing it. 2002, actually 2001, here in NHT, you don't understand the challenges that Dan and I have gone through. And everybody sees the successes, but you don't see the journey and the challenges and the we needed all these philosophies, believe me. And everybody sees the work at the end of the rainbow and the successes, but they don't really see what we went through. You imagine when we launched an NHT, we were shut down because we only had one product. We were shut down in Canada. We were shut down in Dallas, where the warehouse was, because Allura was reclassified. We go into Australia and New Zealand the first month. I know Dan spent a lot of time there. In August, they did $1 million in business, shut down a couple of weeks after in September. And then 9/11 happens. Everything shuts down. People are so negative and they're watching all this news. We were captivated by what was happening and all the rhetoric and the fear that was being displayed. And that month, and I remember, because I had the Sony Walkman. You remember those? Speak about technology and how things have changed. I was Sony Walkman. A couple of days before 9/11, a friend of mine shared with me Bob Proctor, who I'd never heard before, his Born Rich tapes. And I was playing those tapes. I started listening to them in August every single day, and I was captivated by those tapes. And I remember going for a jog September 11th, 2001, and I heard, because you turn on the tape deck, but the radio was still on. I heard Twin Towers are being knocked down. Immediately thought I was in a dream, and immediately put on Bob Proctor. And I was so captivated with Bob Proctor and his material. For 2 years, I listened to it every day. So I was not as affected as most people in the business world, because at that moment, I was given some material that allowed me to understand the power of focus, the power of what put your mind in a state that will get you the results that you're looking for. So bringing back to this slide here, the work ethic and the lifestyle, is when you go all in, you got to apply the work. You got to show the universe that you're really serious for your goals. You got to have at least once a year, I go through a massive action plan. 90 days of massive blitz of the business. And no better time to do it in September, October, November. Just think about it. You go in the next 90 days, talk to as many people as you can, do as many presentations again in the next 90 days. Your check will go through the roof in 2014, guaranteed. You will qualify for Thailand, and you will qualify for next year, and the promotion we're going to have next year. Your checks will go through the roof in 2014. Money loves speed, ladies and gentlemen. And when I applied the massive action principle, the magic of the universe started and helped me get to where I want to go. It's amazing when you're on fire and focused and you're totally clear of all the junk. And that's another thing, ladies and gentlemen, in terms of philosophy, is not focusing on what you don't want, but focus on what you do want. That's what ambassadors do all the time. If you focus on what you don't want, your shoulders will be very heavy, and you'll never climb to the top. Because once you start getting near the top, it'll weigh you down if you continue to focus on what you don't want. So that work ethic and that massive action and on purpose, creates magic in your life. Whoops. Next thing is understanding people and communication skills. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. We have a lot of great trainings on that. I've done some great trainings on personality types, how to communicate with people. Use a lot of NLP, in terms of mirroring everything else. But it's real important as you develop, and this is the thing that helped me, is when I did the numbers in NHT, hundreds and hundreds of people that I talked to, I got better and better. I got better in communicating with people. I got better in building rapport with people, just through osmosis, just through the action that I created and the confidence that I applied to it. So with people communication skills, there's a lot to learn with that, but I guarantee you, if you go through massive action, you continue to talk to people and raise your conscious level, you will figure it out. You will learn those communication skills. The challenge with most people is they don't stay in long enough to learn how to model people, to learn how to communicate with people better, learn how to do presentations. Because this is a people skill. This is a people business. This is a business of show and tell, showing the product, showing the business, showing the product, showing the business, showing the product, showing the business, helping others, showing the product and showing the business, helping others show the product and show the business. If you focus on those skills, again, you will be unstoppable. I've got a formula. You want to know what the formula is? In the next year, talk to 3 people a day, 3 presentations a day, 3 tools that they see a day in the business. Over the next year, you will succeed and go to ambassador. 900 people, follow what I'm sharing with you here today. 3 times 365, you take a few days off. Let's say 330 times 3, that's 990 people. Just think about that. You'll get very good at developing this business. You will be greater than you are right now in terms of the skill sets. The basics. I know we spend a lot of time, in our webinars talking about basics, but it really comes down to the first part of this webinar. 90% of our success will be determined on the things that I've shared with you here today, and that's all the mindset. But when you start to raise your conscious level, you got to stick to the basics of the business and focus on what makes you money. There's 3 things that make you money in this business. Show the product, show the business, and teach others to do the same thing. Show the product, show the business, and teach others to do the same thing. Then we can add another one, which is one of the greatest skill sets that you can have, is building for events. Like tonight is an event. The call that we had before is an event. Putting people in front of the information so they can see the bigger picture. So those are the major basics that you need to learn. Follow up with that, there's telephone skills. That goes all through people and communication skills. There's follow-up skills, doing that fast. within 24 hours, objections, how to handle objections. But you learn these things not by reading or listening to webinars. Those will give you ideas, but by just doing. By that, just doing. You don't learn to ride a bike by reading a manual or listening to a training. You do ride a bike by doing. I played golf, as you can see, in Hawaii. Dan Cattle, a great golfer. He golfs a lot more than I do. We have Scott, who is our CFO of NHT Global. And then we got Mr. Beijing, who is the general of the Chinese Army, and he is our latest millionaire's husband, Hunan's husband. Great, great golfer. And before getting on the golf course, I saw some videos on swings and a couple of tips. And when I got on that golf course, the habits started taking over. I was swinging the club like it was a hockey stick, and all those little nuances, right? I couldn't learn from a video, but I was learning on the golf course. Dan shared with me some tips on how to handle the golf club and things like that. And it's by the doing. When you do it over and over and over again, you get better and better and better. And that's what the basics are all about. Leadership skills. And this really ties to people development and people communication skills. There are, if you go through the Benjamin Franklin course, in the leadership skill development, one of the things that I learned a long time ago is the most respected leaders, the ones that are not exposed, are the ones that are the doers, that lead by example. You want a great, fantastic team. You want a exploding team. You got to be a great business person. You got to act and walk the talk. You got to qualify for promotions. You got to be recruiting people into the business. You got to be sharing the product. You got to be on these calls. You got to be, into SteamTeam.ca and reviewing all those trainings and doing everything I'm talking to today. You got to lead the pack from the front and from the back. People will follow you based on what you say, because that initially they may do that. Maybe for 6 months, a year, or 2 years. You'll see a lot of great marketers in network marketing on the internet that will recruit thousands, hundreds, or whatever it is. But it always seems that a year, 2 years, they're on to something else. You know why that is? Because they're found out. They are found out. Time exposes them. So as a leadership skills, a major skill that you have to develop is lead by example. So for example, my household, I was very careful. Margaret and I, by the way, it's our 25th anniversary here. And Margaret and I, from day one, when we started having kids, I recognized that I was a leader. I was forced to be a leader for my kids. So everything that I did in front of them was show and tell. I didn't lose my temper. There were the odd time, yes, we're not perfect, but I always made sure that rarely lost my temper. I always treated their mother with respect. We had a peaceful household. We always focused on our dreams and our goals. My kids grew up with me with a $1 million bill on my ceiling for years of our bedroom. Everything that I did, I led by example, not only in my personal family, but with my siblings too. I've led a life where I'm leading by example. Many of you who know me, I love to have fun. I've even though I've had this great success, I'm still the same guy. I'm still very humble. I've really worked hard on that part of me, but I'm consistently out there leading by example, showing people how to respect people, showing people how to deal with people, showing people that they are great. This is how I've led my life, and you do that within NHT. And I'll give you an example. I had a conversation with one of her leaders. He's traveling, and he recognized one of the leaders that he's working with has a short fuse, a major fuse, which has now hurt his a perception of this person. Okay, and as a leader, you got to understand that you got to maintain control. You got to maintain, your focus. And when you go and have eradicable behaviors where it's erratic, it's going to affect your leadership and the way that people see you as a leader. So, leaders, and all these leaders here, these $1 million earners, they understand that they lead by example constantly with their teams, and they're leading the charge. Hunan over there, Huna on the left side there, one of our earlier millionaires, she qualified for Paris. She qualified for the Paris incentive, and she is a global ambassador. Okay? Just the thing, she knows and leads by example. Leads by example. Last but not least, I thought it was apropos to have my picture up here. This is in our suite at the hotel in Maui, the #1 hotel in Maui. As you can see, a beautiful view. And the reason why I have my picture up there is I'm the epitome of never say die attitude. I joke around about this all the time, but my love for my family, when I started a family many years ago, now my son's going to be 22. We just moved our daughter into college, living in a dorm, which is a little difficult, your daughter, but that's another training altogether. And I believe the greatest skill set I brought to the table was my never say die attitude. No matter what challenge, what skill set I need to develop, how many no's I got, I kept my eye on the prize. I kept my eye on the prize. I was all in. Every part of my body. Every part. And if you look again at all our ambassadors and everyone that's achieved anything in life, just look at the achievements that you've had in your life. You came to the table determined to succeed, to get that done. And it goes back to my concept of not dismissing things. I definitely didn't dismiss success. I went for it because of the love of my family. I had one of the greatest days of my life today because my son's is going to be 22 in a few weeks, Kyle. He's grown up with this lifestyle, sat on my lap. He just came back with me in Hong Kong. I'm so proud of the kid. As a parent, one of the great secrets to success is allowing people to be who they want to be and to have their own path. So I've never encouraged him or pushed him to do what I'm doing. To get him, he would be perfect for this, but he's got to set his own path. And he's in that, graduating for university, college, and now he's in, what am I going to do? What direction I want to go in? That kind of feeling right now, that's where his mindset is. I've told him, Kyle, you got to get as much experience as possible in dealing with people. So that's what he's been doing, in terms of some of his jobs that he's had. But he came to me and said, Joe, Dad, the #1 thing that I've learned from you is to do what it takes to go after your dreams. And I've got this idea for this high-tech company. I think it's going to work. This is what he told me today. I'm going to make it happen. It's very tech savvy. It's got big ideas. And obviously I'm encouraging. That is the greatest thing that you can ever hear from your kids. Greatest thing that you can ever hear from your kids, because he has seen me lead by example. And guys, this is not an arrogant comment. You stick to your dream and you focus on your dream like I did, you will be in Hawaii. You will be an ambassador. You will have great things happen in your life. You know, I'm very fortunate. You know, we're having our 25th anniversary. My wife and I are taking off on Friday for a 2-week Mediterranean cruise on a luxury cruise liner. You know, 15 years ago, 18 years ago, that was a huge dream. That was a massive, because of the amount of money that we're putting into this. My mentor at the time, Dan Cattle, you know, it's kind of coincidence how our paths have continued to cross over the years. Even, you know, he went on his 20th anniversary, and he was telling me last year, you know, Joe, this amount of money we're spending, it's incredible. I've got a butler. You know, he was telling me all these things. There's a brand new ship, you know, and most of you have seen his video, the pyramid video. And so it's time to book our trip. You know, I promised Margaret, you know, we'll go for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it takes. You know, we've done so much traveling. She wanted to do something different. So we're going to do this luxury cruise. And it's the same cruise, same ship as Dan went on last year, the Riviera. And I thought about it. You know, nothing is a coincidence, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing is a coincidence. You know, because of Dan and I working so well together for all these years, our focuses have always remained the same. We have focused on helping people become great. We have focused making NHT Global one of the greatest companies in this industry, and we will do that. We're just, and because of that focus, you know, our lives intertwine so much, even when we don't even plan it. And that's how great this universe works. So I'm going to leave you here tonight, and one of the greatest things that I want you to come from this training call is to think about how I started the call in terms of that number one philosophy. When you come to the table with that in all aspects of your life, I promise you, you know, your next 10 years are going to be the greatest of your life. Nothing will hold you back. And the only things that are holding you back are the things that you constantly focus on, which is what you don't want. Good night, everyone. Love to see many of you and all of you that are going to be watching in the future and watching here tonight and listening online. If your goal is to become a global ambassador, you know, I would love to spend a lot of time with you in Hawaii next year and the following years. Thanks for jumping on here tonight. God bless. Take care. And have a great one tonight. Bye-bye.